Is Shakur Stevenson ducking Gervonta Tank Davis? That's what Devin Haney believes. It's an interesting take, to be honest with you guys, because I feel like in that interview, well, Devin Haney did an interview recently and he talked about the possibility of fighting Shakur. He was asked about what he believes the case is in terms of Shakur's calling Devin out, calling Ryan out, and Devin's just saying he's basically calling out everybody except the guy in his weight division, which is Gervonta Tank Davis. I mean, I've been saying that Tank and Shakur is the fight to make at 35 realistically, especially for Tank. If he can't get a Vasily Lomachenko fight, if he can't get especially the Devin Haney fight, you need to fight the most credible opposition at your weight class, and that would be Shakur Stevenson. It would be Shakur Stevenson and Tank, and ultimately Devin's kind of clowning Shakur for not calling out Tank. He hasn't been calling for Tank. He's been calling for Devin. He's been calling for Ryan Garcia. Everybody except who's actually in his weight class. He's even, talked about the potential of fighting Teofimo Lopez, which these are all great fights, but let's also remember that he's fighting at 35. So realistically, Tank is the biggest option that makes sense for Shakur. And I think I agree with Devin, like that's the fight to make, but I'm not sure that Shakur is scared. I think Shakur just understands that business side where it would probably be difficult to reach a solid agreement between the two in terms of splitting the money. About a year ago, Shakur Stevenson was asked about the possibility of fighting Tank, and he said, if Tank gives me a call, I'm gonna pick up because I know he's the superstar. I'll agree to whatever terms he wants because I know how much he's bringing. I know the draw that he is in the sport of boxing, and I don't know if that's changed. If that's changed, which most likely it has, because Shakur has obviously his stock has increased, you could argue, throughout the past year, and he's had some good performances. He's also not had the best performances against De Los Santos. Didn't look too good. Guys like Ryan Garcia, guys like Devin Haney have talked about that. Devin Haney even said that Shakur should rematch De Los Santos, but ultimately, Shakur had a messed up hand and still won the fight, in my opinion, relatively convincingly. So I don't necessarily need to see him fight De Los Santos again, but it's a valid point if coming from Devin Haney saying that a lot of people are talking about how you didn't look good in that fight. Go rematch De Los Santos and make a statement. So I'm not mad at that. I think that's actually good advice coming from Devin Haney. And he's just saying, realistically, Shakur's at 35 and Devin's at 140. Ryan Garcia is fighting Devin on April 20th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. So that's already a fight set in stone. So Shakur has to honestly be realistic about it. Ultimately, he should be calling out Tank if he really wants to make a big fight happen, if he really wants to gain the respect he deserves, because I don't see him getting a lot of respect from anybody else. He beats Lomachenko. People are going to say, Tio did it cleaner than you. Devin already beat him, stuff like that. And then he goes into, a fight with someone like Emmanuel Navarrete. That's an interesting fight, but we all expect him to win that. He fights a guy like Frank Martin. We'd expect him to pass that test as well. So there's a very small pod of fighters that Shakur can really realistically fight, and he'll get the respect that he deserves. And the main one right now is Tank. Whether or not you think it's too early for Shakur, I would say that fight needs some more time to marinate. But if it is the biggest fight at 35, I think that is the biggest fight at 135 pounds. Why not make the fight happen if you're Shakur Stevenson, if you're Tank Davis? Because when Devin said that, when he said, Shakur's calling everybody out, he's calling me out, he's calling out Ryan Garcia, Tio, and everybody that's not in his weight class. You haven't mentioned Tank's name once or called out Tank. That's what Devin Haney's saying. So yeah, there is some truth to that. We're not hearing Shakur, go at Tank and say, I want that smoke right now. I want it immediately. He's not saying that. But I'm not saying he's scared. I'm just saying, it's interesting that Shakur is calling out everybody else. I think Shakur is a great fighter. I think that he has what it takes to beat anyone at 35 or 40. He's just that talented, and I'm a fan of his. I would just like to see him in a big fight. If it's not Lomachenko, I think it should be Tank, and that's a realistic fight at 35, and that's a fan friendly fight. I think the people would love to see that in terms of the narrative. In terms of the actual boxing match, I'm not sure if people would enjoy what Shakur actually does in there. And a lot of you are going to say, what do you mean? Shakur and Tank's going to be a great fight. I know it's going to be, a great lead up, but I think the actual fight might be more tactical than people think, and people might actually get bored because, Shakur is bringing that style where it's hit and not get hit. And that can be a little bit frustrating for fans to watch, but at the end of the day, I think it's a big fight for the sport of boxing. It's a good step for Shakur it's a good step in the right direction for Shakur and his career. Win or lose, you lose to Tank. I'm sure it would be a competitive fight, so I feel like Shakur's stock, can't really decrease. But I think Shakur does have the abilities, and he possesses the skills to beat a guy like Tank, to beat a guy like Devin Haney, to definitely beat a guy like Vasily Lomachenko. I just think Lomachenko's over the hill, so I think at this point in Lomachenko's career, fighting Loma for Shakur wouldn't do much for Shakur's career, because I think a lot of people would just try to discredit that. But at the end of the day, you can't make all boxing fans happy. It's like, you have to fight this guy, and if you beat him, they're like, well, you should fight this guy, and then it just ends up going around in a circle. So I feel like Shakur just has to stay active, continue to fight relatively known names, but I think Tank is ultimately the guy that he should be calling out, if he's going to call out anybody, because it's a more realistic fight than fighting Devin at 40, where the negotiations have already been talked about. That 25%, Shakur saying that there was never really an official offer made to him from Devin Haney's team. We don't know to what extent that is the truth, but we do know that these two guys are going to continue to perform. They're two of the best fighters in the sport of boxing today, and around that 35 to 40 pound weight division, they're two of the top dogs. So I'd love to see Devin Haney, I'd love to see Shakur fight each other, but I think realistically Shakur and Tank is that fight to make at 35. I think the time is now. Despite could they make more money fighting a little later? Yeah, but I think right now is the time to make that fight. I think both fighters are in their primes, they're young. I don't want to see the fight when Tank's already pushing 35 or whatever the case may be. I'd rather see Shakur and Tank fight now, because I think it's a really good chess match. I would expect both fighters to be very intelligent in there. I don't expect it to be an all-out war, especially to start. I could see it unraveling a little bit more. We know that Shakur is a tough nut to crack, but you're facing a trailblazer. You're facing a guy that's going to bang on that door until he breaks it down, and that's Tank Davis. This isn't no bum. This isn't an ordinary fighter. It's not a gatekeeper. This is Tank. He's the real deal, and Shakur knows that. He's going to prepare for Tank, knowing everything that Tank brings to the table. It's just hard to know that no matter how much success Shakur has, Tank's always going to be dangerous, and it's only going to take a few shots from Tank. Not even a few, it could be one shot to change the course of the fight. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Devin Haney calls out Shakur Stevenson for not calling out Tank. He's saying, fight Tank first and then we'll talk. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. But I appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you guys for the constant support. Continue to support me, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
That's going to do it for another NASFight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.